You know, there are a lot of people these days who don't even believe in the idea of family anymore. They've been through so much disappointment, so much abandonment, that they built a kind of armor around their hearts. And look, I get it really. I do. Because when you truly love, when you give your all with no reservations, the fall can be painful, almost unbearable. But pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you might just make you rethink a few things. My name is John, or, for those who know me here in Texas, Old Johnny. I've spent my whole life with calloused hands, working the land, holding on to faith, and dreaming big, even with just a little in my pocket. I built my home with every single brick laid by my own hands. I raised my kids with all I could give: simple food, education, and most importantly, love. Real love, the kind that expects nothing in return. But life. Life never follows the script we write, does it? One day, after I had given everything I had to my kids, the house, the land, even the last of my savings, I found myself standing outside my own gate, kicked out, forgotten, with an empty soul and trembling hands. Wait, don't close the video. Yet, because the story doesn't end here. Quite the opposite. This is where it really begins. So pull up a chair, stay with me, and if at any point you see yourself in this story, leave your comment below. And tell me, where are you watching? This video from in the United States. Maybe New York, Los Angeles, some small town in Arkansas, or anywhere else in this vast country. Because no matter how far apart we are, there are some pains that everyone understands. Life, my friend, is all about choices. Some are right, others only make sense when we look back, with time and nostalgia. Let me introduce myself properly. John Miller, but nobody calls me that. Everyone knows me as Old Johnny. I'm 74 years old, well-lived, or at least lived as God allowed, with a lot of struggle, sweat, and of course, a lot of love. I was born and raised in a small village in rural Texas. A simple life, the kind where the rooster is your alarm clock and rest only comes when the sun hides behind the cornfields. I grew up on the ranch, working since I was a boy with my father. A sickle in one hand, a hoe in the other, learning early on that if you don't go after what you want, no one's going to bring food to your table. Back then, nothing was easy. An 8 or 9-year-old boy was already hauling sacks of corn, drawing water from the well, helping however he could. And if you complained, you got a stern talking to for sure. We lived in an old house, warm wooden floors, a wood stove, light only from a lantern. And as for baths, my friend, those were in the river. You know what I'll tell you? I miss those days. Because even with all the hardship, there was something that's becoming rarer and rarer: unity, a real family. My father, Mr. Miller, a hard man, but honest, taught me everything about life. In the country, my mother, Mrs. Millersweet, a true warrior, carried the world on her shoulders, baked cornbread, brewed coffee through cloth, and kept the house running. It was on this piece of land that I met Mary. Mary. If I close my eyes, I can still see her young, wearing that flowered dress, hair up, and a smile that lit up every place. We met at the church fair in our little town. I was 18, she was 16. She walked past me, and at that moment, time seemed to stop. I gathered my courage, walked up to her, and asked, "Miss, would you like some candy? Or would you rather dance with me?" She laughed, lowered her head, and said, "If it's to dance, I'm in." From that day on, we never left each other's side. We got married young, keeping it simple. Just the pastor's blessing, family gathered, and friends from the village. No luxury. Her dress was borrowed. The rings were bought on credit from the corner store, and the party was just a simple cake and hot coffee. All very humble, but straight from the heart. And so we began our journey, like thousands of rural Americans still do. As I tell you this, I admit, my voice almost cracks, because I know there are so many people who've gone through or are going through similar stories. By the way, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Who knows, maybe you also carry a story like this in your heart. It was on that beaten earth that we built our home. Brick by brick, cement mixed by me, tiles carried on my shoulder, and Mary always by my side, steady, sewing, helping, taking care of everything. A strong woman. Life was never easy, but it was never empty either. I'd wake up before sunrise, take care of the land, the corn, the pigs, the chickens, and Mary would handle everything else. Sewing for the neighbors, helping at the local school, selling homemade bread, and still taking care of the house and the kids. With time, we managed to buy a used fridge, then our first bicycle, and finally, the old black and white TV, which was a whole event every time we turned it on. Then came the kids' 3 gifts from God. Mike, the oldest, always responsible. Linda, my princess in the middle, big heart and easy smile. And Paul, the youngest, always getting into trouble, spreading joy. I always told them, education is the inheritance humble parents can leave their children. It wasn't easy, no. We put them all in school. We did everything so they wouldn't have to work the land like us. I'd wake up at dawn, take the kids to the bus stop, many times in the rain or mud. And when the bus didn't show, they'd walk miles to get to school. While they grew, the struggle continued. The ranch never brought much money, but it kept us fed. We sold corn, traded beans, sometimes butchered a pig, made sausage to help with the bills. Little by little, we made progress. Expanded the house, bought a bit more land, planted fruit trees, expanded the garden, added more chickens, more pigs. On Sundays, the house was full. Neighbors, friends, everyone together. Mary would make her famous chicken stew, and the smell filled the house. The kids laughed, played soccer, climbed trees. A simple life, but full of happiness. We had debts, problems, of course. But there was love. There was faith. There was unity. But life. Life throws unexpected curveballs. And that's when everything changed. You know, sometimes what we do, thinking it's right and from the heart, can later become our greatest pain. When the kids grew up, each went their own way, as is natural. Mike got a job at a company in Dallas. Linda married young and moved to another city to start her life. And Paul, the youngest, stayed around longer, helping with the ranch, but also wanted to go out on his own, start his own business. As a father, what else could I do? Any parent knows. We just want to see our children move forward. In the meantime, Mary and I were feeling the weight of age. Our bodies just didn't work like before. My back hurt, my knees ached. And the worst of it was when Mary's health started failing. First a bit of dizziness, then some pains here and there, but we thought it was just tiredness. Until one day she fainted in the yard. My world collapsed. I rushed her to the hospital, then to the city, and then came the news. High blood pressure, diabetes, heart problems. The doctor was straight with me. Old Johnny, she needs care, rest, and follow-up. My heart clenched in a way only those who've been through it will understand. So I called the kids, sat them all at the kitchen table and said, "Kids, your mother and I are getting old. We don't know how much longer we'll be here. What we have is yours." I thought I was doing everything right, organizing things so there'd be no confusion later. We did the paperwork, put everything in their names. The house, the ranch, even the small savings we'd managed, all are. Lives, everything divided equally. I didn't do it with sadness. I did it out of love, wanting to make sure they'd never want for anything. I remember it like it was yesterday. I signed the last document and said, This will always be your home and ours, as long as we're here. Alive. They all agreed, hugged me. Of course, Dad. This is our parents' place. No one's going to touch it. If only I'd known what would come next, maybe I'd have thought twice. Because, my friend, that's when things started to change slowly, almost imperceptibly. Mike, always reserved, showed up less and less. He said work was busy. He couldn't help. Linda, once so loving, no longer smiled so wide when she visited. And Paul, the youngest, started making suggestions. Dad, maybe you should sell that land out back. You're not using it anyway. Or maybe move to the city. It'd be easier for us to look after you. As a father, I didn't see any bad intentions. I just thought they were concerned. Just wanted to take care of us. To be honest, at that moment I even thought, maybe it is better to leave everything behind and move to the city, be closer to the kids. Give up this farm life, this rhythm only those born here understand. But an old man's heart, my friend, doesn't move so easily. Every inch of this house has a story. Every tree in this yard I planted. Every bit of this ranch holds a memory of me, of Mary, of my kids when they were little. Leaving all that behind would be like tearing out a piece of myself. And in the sea. Meantime, Mary's health just kept getting worse. Some days she'd wake up smiling, make coffee, tend to the plants with care. Other days, she couldn't get out of bed. And I did it all, running after medicine, taking her to the hospital, cooking, washing clothes, tending the garden, looking after the animals. But age doesn't forgive. The body just stops responding. Sometimes at night, I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling thinking, did I do the right thing, handing everything over to the kids? But deep down, there was that voice that never left me. Of course you did, John. You did it out of love. It's what any father would do. You fought your whole life for them. What I didn't know was that not everyone sees love the same way. And it may sound strange, but it was on an ordinary morning, in a way I never expected, that I realized things would never be the same again. I'll never forget that day. The sky was clear, the sun rising shyly, promising warmth later. I'd woken up early, as always, brewed coffee, fed the animals, tidied up the yard. Mary was still in bed, not feeling well. I sat on the porch rocking chair, looking out over the fields when I heard knocking at the gate. I didn't think much of it. Figured it was a neighbor, or maybe the supply guy. I got up, went over. When I opened the gate, there was Paul Mai, youngest, the one who'd always been closest to us. He had his head down, hands in his pockets with a look I can't even describe. It wasn't sadness or anger. It was distant, cold. Dad, we need to talk. Right then, I felt a tightness in my chest, a chill running up my spine. But I stood firm, said, "Come in, son. Let's talk. This is your home." And he said, dry, "No, it's better if we talk out here." That set off an alarm inside me. Those who love you talk inside, in comfort, with warmth. Conversations at the gate are a sign of bad news. But a father's mind is like that. I still tried. "Come on, son. Come in, your mother's inside. Let's have some coffee." But he repeated, cold as ice, "No, Dad, that's not why I'm here." Right then I knew something had broken. And then he spoke. And my friend, I wouldn't wish on anyone what I had to hear in that moment. "Dad, I talked to Mike and Linda. We've come to an agreement. It's time for you and Mom to start getting ready to move out." For a second, I thought I'd misheard. Move out? What do you mean, son? He kept that same look, cold, distant. The house is in our names now. We're thinking of selling, investing the money. Each of us needs it. You understand, right? Times are tough for everyone. My whole body went cold. My hands started. to shake, and my heart raced like never before. "But this is my home, son. Your mother is sick. Where do you want us to go?" He lowered his head, took a deep breath, and it hurt so much to hear. "Dad, I know it's hard, but that's life. You can go stay at Linda's place, or maybe rent something in town. I don't know." Hearing that felt like a knife to my heart. I'd spent my whole life sacrificing for them, working through sleepless nights, going without so I could pay for their education, to give them the best. And there I was, standing at the door of my own house, being told by my son that I didn't belong there anymore. Of course, I tried to argue. I talked about the ranch, the memories, about Mary being sick. But he wouldn't budge. He seemed like a different person. "Dad, there's nothing left to discuss. The papers are signed. The house is ours. The decision is made. You have until the end of the month to sort things out." The end of the month. 40 years of history reduced to a deadline. 30 days. I just stood there, watching him leave. He didn't even look back, didn't want to see his mother. He got in the car, slammed the door, and disappeared down the road. I went back to the porch, sat in the rocking chair, and I swear, everything lost its color. The trees, Mary's flowers, the birds, everything turned gray, empty, cold like I'd never felt before. I don't know how long I stayed there, just sitting, breathing, or trying to, because in that moment, even breathing hurt. After a while, I heard Mary's voice from inside the house. John, who was at the gate. I wanted so badly to protect her from that pain, to hide it from her. But how can you hide something like that? I went to the bedroom. She was lying down, pale, her eyes tired. I sat beside her, took her hand. I tried to be strong, but my voice broke. It was Paul. She gave a weak smile. Did he come to see us? I closed my eyes, squeezed her hand, and said, "He came, yes. He came to say, we have to leave. Here, Mary." She opened her eyes wide. "What do you mean, John? Leave here. Leave our home. Leave our life." That's when I couldn't take it anymore. I cried like a child. That raw cry only those who have lost everything know. And she cried with me. In that bedroom, two old, tired, sick people held each other. It wasn't out of love anymore. It was out of fear. Fear of what would become of us. Fear of a future we'd never even imagined. Never, in my whole life, did I think I'd hear I was being kicked out of my own house. Not by strangers, not by the law, not because of debts, but by my own children. And if you think it couldn't get any worse, you're wrong. Because when you think life can't get any lower, it proves you wrong. That's when the phone rang. It rang in the early evening of that same day. I was still on the porch, standing there, trying to make sense of things. Mary was lying down, eyes closed, just wanting silence, to escape from that day. I answered the phone, not expecting anything. It was Linda. "Daddy, did Paul talk to you today?" Her voice was trembling. Tired, I answered, "He did." She just said, "Dad, I'm sorry." Those 3 words broke me. Because right then, I realized it wasn't just the pain of being kicked out, it was the pain of seeing that. Among the 3 kids I raised with so much love, at least one of them was ashamed of what they were doing. Dad, I swear I tried to convince them. I told them it wasn't right, that Mom is sick, that you and Mom have always been everything to us. But they're decided. They're cold, hard. "Dad, please let me help. At least you won't be on the street. Come here, stay with me and Nelson. It's not much, but there's a little room. There's love, there's respect." So I cried again. But this time it wasn't out of pride, it was out of relief. It was a relief that in the middle of so much darkness, there was still a light. I still had a daughter, a hand reaching out. "Sweetheart, we'll think about it. Thank you, really. I hung up the phone, sat down again, staring at the wall, my head spinning and my chest tight. Suddenly, the house I'd built with so much effort was no longer a home. It was just a place where I wasn't welcome anymore. The next day, I told Mary everything. She listened in silence, just staring at the ceiling. When I finished, she turned to me and said, "Let's go to Linda's house. John, this is not our home anymore." And I, who'd always been the stubborn one in the family, who never wanted to leave the land where I grew up, just bowed my head and agreed. Because she was right. Once your own child tells you to leave, that ground becomes just a memory. It's not home anymore. It's a ruin. In the days that followed, we started packing up. What we could take, what belonged to Mary, some photos, some clothes, old pots and pans. The rest we left behind not because we wanted to, but because it wouldn't fit in the car or in our hearts. Let me tell you, packing up that house was like burying a part of ourselves while we were still alive. Mary sorted through things with trembling hands, smelled her wedding blouse, put it away, cried in silence. I took apart the bed, the table, locked the door for the last time, and hung the key on a nail on the porch. I didn't look back. Looking back would have made me fall to my knees. Linda came to pick us up. She arrived with Nelson, her husband a quiet guy, but with a respectful look in his eyes. They set up the back seat, put in some blankets so Mary could lie down, made room for the boxes. Before getting in the car, Linda hugged me tight and whispered, "Dad, I'm sorry it's so little, but whatever I have is yours too." And that's when I realized sometimes it's in having almost nothing that you find everything. The drive to her house was quiet, each of us lost in our own thoughts. Mary with her eyes closed, me watching the road, seeing the fences, the trees, the cows, grazing. It felt like my whole life was being left behind in the rearview mirror. Linda's house was simple, but well cared for. 2 bedrooms, a small living room, a tiny kitchen, a little yard. But it had what we needed most, respect and silence. Not that sad silence, but the kind that lets you breathe again. The little room where we stayed was small, but Mary made it home. She put the photos on the wall, the rosary by the bed, and turned that corner into our new home. Because, son, home isn't walls or a roof. Home is who takes you in. The first days they were hard, really hard. No one gets used to being forced out of their life overnight. Mary missed her yard, her chickens, her plants. I missed the porch, the smell of the earth, the wind in the trees. But slowly, we found a new routine. I started helping Nelson however I could, tending the garden, painting a fence, making homemade bread. Mary stayed quieter, more inside, but every now and then she'd still smile. And that smile, my friend, kept my soul standing. Linda did everything to make us feel at home. She'd call me for lunch, listen to my old stories, make fresh coffee, and sit with me on the porch to watch the sunset. One day, she came home from work and handed me an envelope. "Dad, here's the name of a lawyer. He'll help you try to get the house back, or at least make sure you get what's fair." In that moment, I felt a lump in my throat. "No, sweetheart, I don't want to fight. I just want peace. They've already taken too much from me. I won't let them take my soul too." And she understood, because when you love, you don't push, you just welcome. The months passed and we started to adapt. But Mary's health didn't improve. Her body was tired, her heart even more so. And I already knew what was coming. I could see it in her eyes, that it was goodbye. Until one night, she held my hand, looked into my eyes and said, "John, I can go in peace. Because I know that at least one of our children still knows what love is." And then she closed her eyes. Just like she'd lived with calm, dignity, and faith, she passed away. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, holding her cold hand, thanking God for giving me such a wonderful woman. The pain, son, the pain never goes away. It just changes places. It's always there, quiet. After Mary was gone, I thought that would be the end for me too. But then something happened. A note, an envelope, a gift. Something she'd left hidden, just for me. And in that moment, I discovered that even after she was gone, Mary would still change my life. The day after the funeral, the house was wrapped in silence, the kind of silence that falls when you lose the person who is the heart of everything. It wasn't just the absence of her body. It was the absence of her presence Mary could fill. A house just by being there. Now, nothing. The bedroom exactly as she left it, the blanket still holding her scent, the rosary hanging on the bedpost, our faded wedding photo on the knitstand. But she was gone. Linda wanted to tidy things up, change the sheets, put things away, but I asked her to wait. I wasn't ready. She understood like she always did. I spent some time sitting in the small backyard, staring at the sky, thinking about everything and about nothing at all. The pain was too raw for any coherent thought. It just hurt. That's when Nelson appeared with an envelope. Mr. John, I found this on top of the dresser, under Mary's clothes. It's got your name on it. I took it slowly. It was a yellowed, simple envelope, handwritten in that script of hers I'd recognize anywhere. For John, only open after I'm gone. My heart froze. My hand trembled. I went into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and opened it as if it were glass. Inside, there was a letter, written by hand, blue pen, steady writing even at her age. My love, if you're reading this, it means I've already gone. I didn't want to go, you know that. I wanted to plant more flowers. Hear you call me your warrior, laugh at Paul's antics, see Linda grow with that big heart of hers. But God knows everything. If he decided my time had come, then I'd go in peace. In that instant, the tears started falling uncontrollably. I kept reading. I know what you're feeling right now. I'd feel the same if it were you. I know the ground has disappeared from under your feet, but I'm asking you not to let this pain swallow you. You still have light to share with the world. I left something for you. I know you didn't want fights, lawyers, or paperwork, but I went after it in secret. I talked to Linda and Nelson and left everything ready. In the second envelope, which is with her, there are the documents for the complaint, telling everything that happened and asking for the donation of the house to be reviewed. I don't want revenge, John, just justice. I sat there in shock. Even weak, even sick, Mary was still thinking of me, still protecting me. At the end of the letter, she wrote, John, if you ever think about giving up, remember our little brick house. Remember how we built everything from nothing. You are strong, you are rooted, you are the love of my life. I'll be waiting for you, but patiently. Live what you still need to live. When the time comes, we'll meet again. I hugged that letter as if it were her. I kissed it, lay down with it on my chest, and cried until there were no tears left. Linda came into the room afterward, saw the letter, and didn't say a word. She just sat next to me and put her hand on my shoulder. The second envelope is with me, Dad. She gave it to me months ago, told me only to give it to you after she was gone. I nodded. I didn't want to see it then. I didn't want to think about justice. I just wanted to feel her presence. A little longer. But in the days that followed, that letter stayed with me. The gesture, Mary's courage, wouldn't leave my mind. One day, after breakfast, I called Linda. Sweetheart, give me the envelope. I think it's time. We opened it together. There were the documents, the formal complaint, the report of everything that had happened, proof that the donation was made during a period of vulnerability, and the lawyer's signature that she had gotten through the city's public defender's office. Mary didn't want to fight, but she left the path ready in case I changed my mind. And I did change my mind, not for revenge, but because I understood that if I stayed quiet, I'd be burying both her story and mine. We went to the city courthouse, talked to the public defender, showed him the documents. He was impressed. "Mr. John, your wife was very clever. There's a case here. It's solid. We might be able to reverse this donation, at least in part." So we started the process. It was slow, tiring, full of ups and downs. The kids tried to defend themselves, of course. They said I had done everything willingly, that there was no pressure, that it was all above board. But we had the letter, Linda's testimony, the doctor's report saying Mary couldn't be removed from the house, photos, the truth. And the truth, my friend, sometimes takes a while, but when it arrives, nothing can stop it. After nearly a year, the verdict came. The house, at least part of it, was returned to my name. Not all of it, but enough. Enough that I didn't feel like a stranger in my own home. Enough that, one day, if I wanted, I could go back, even if just to sit on the porch and talk with my memories. When I heard the decision, I cried again, but it was different this time. It wasn't pain anymore. It was gratitude. Gratitude for Mary, for Linda, for the chance to recover a piece of my dignity. That night, before I went to sleep, I picked up the letter again, read it once more, and said out loud, "It's done, Mary. It's done. Thank you for never leaving me, not even after you were gone." But I never imagined that the part of the house I got back would become a second chance. Because after the ruling, after that little piece was in my name again, something changed. It wasn't just about justice or property. It was like the world had returned to me a part of myself I didn't even know was still alive. For a long time, I thought my story had ended the day Mary left. I thought from then on, all I had left was to wait for time to pass, like someone sitting by the side of the road watching life go by. But no, life still had surprises in store. For me, after the judge's decision, Linda called me to talk. We were on the porch, drinking coffee. She looked at me with that firm but gentle look only she has. "Dad, now that part of the house is yours again. What do you want to do?" I stayed quiet, stirring my coffee, looking at the sky. My heart tightened. "I don't know, sweetheart. Part of me wants to forget that place forever. Another part wants to go back. Even if it's just to smell the trees, hear the birds, remember the good times." She didn't push. She just listened. Some people know that silence is also an answer. The decision came on an ordinary day, not rainy, not sunny. I woke up, looked in the mirror, and said to myself, "I'm going back." Linda supported me immediately. Nelson too. They got the car ready, packed a few things, and the next Sunday off we went. I arrived early. The house looked different, but empty. Mike and Paul had sold their shares to a realtor, who luckily hadn't changed anything yet and was just waiting to finalize the paperwork. I opened the gate with the old key, the one I'd kept, never knowing if I'd use it again. I walked in slowly. Every step in that yard felt like opening a drawer of memories. The trees were still there, the bamboo fence a little crooked but holding up. The porch was covered with dry leaves, the window shut, the door creaking. I opened the living room door, and that smell of old wood, of the past, hit me like a hug and a punch at the same time. I sat in the rocking chair, the same one Mary and I used to sit in after lunch, and there, breathing in that moment, I realized that part of the house wasn't just bricks. It was a new beginning, an invitation. I started to clean up, sweep, tend to what was left, and brought the garden back to life. I replanted Mary's flowers, hung her rosary on the living room wall. I made the house simple, but alive again. And that's when something unexpected happened. On a trip to the village store, I ran into Anna, an old neighbor, a widow, always quiet. She had moved away years before, but was now living on a small farm nearby, looking after her grandchildren. We recognized each other from afar. She waved. I smiled. We started chatting, talking about life, about longing. You came back to the country, John. I did, Anna. Only a part is mine, but it's enough to sit and look at the sky. She smiled. Sometimes looking at the sky is all we need. That phrase echoed in my mind. And over the next few days, she started coming around, bringing cake, coffee, seedlings, helping me sweep the yard, chatting. Over time, it became a routine. No rush, no expectations, just presence. Two old folks, two hearts marked by life, two pasts full of stories, finding shelter in one another. It wasn't a passionate kind of love. It was a gentle, respectful affection that grew slowly with kindness. Little by little, Anna helped me reopen my life, turning the house into a home again, opening the windows, and my heart too. Linda would come on weekends, bringing food, laughter, and the grandkids. The house filled up again, not with the children who had turned their backs on me, but with a new family that life had given me. And that's when I understood. You can lose everything. You can be betrayed, forgotten. But if you don't harden your heart, if you let time do its work, something good will find its way back to you. Today, I live here a simple life, but never alone. Anna is with me, planting flowers, drinking coffee, sitting with me on the porch until the sun goes down. Sometimes, the longing for Mary still hits hard and I cry, but it's not a cry of pain anymore. It's a cry of gratitude, because it was she, with that letter, with that gesture, who gave me back the right to start over, who showed me that, even after the end, there can be a new beginning. If you've listened this far, if you're nursing an open wound, let me tell you, don't give up, don't close your heart. Sometimes, right in the middle of loss, life plants the seed of what will still bloom. But there was still one last surprise, something that life kept hidden and brought to me through the voice of a granddaughter. One I didn't even know remembered her grandfather. It was one of those hot, still afternoons when time seems to stand still. I had just finished watering the plants, sitting in the shade, watching Julia try to teach her little brother to tie his shoes. Anna was inside washing some cups, and Julia, giggling, explained, "Josh, under, and make the bunny ear." He was sweating, tongue sticking out in concentration, trying to keep up with his sister. That's when I heard 3 knocks at the gate. It wasn't a child's knock or a neighbor's. It was a heavy, silent knock. I got up slowly. Anna appeared at the door, looking at me as if she already knew. I went to the gate, my heart pounding. When I opened it, time stopped again. It was Paul alone, thinner, unshaven, hollow-eyed. His shirt was wrinkled, but the look in his eyes wasn't cold anymore. Dad, just that a word, low, hoarse, choked. I stood there, not knowing what to do. He looked down, took a deep breath. "If you want to send me away, I understand. I just came to apologize." Silence. Behind me, Julia and her brother stopped playing. I felt her come closer, putting her hand on my leg, looking at her dad. "Daddy." He saw his daughter and cried, no sound, just pain. It broke me, because in that broken man, there was no pride left, just a son trying to come back. I opened the gate, and he came in slowly, as if he couldn't believe it. He stopped in the yard, looked around, whispered, "It's all the same. The smell, Mom's plants." We nodded in silence. He'd never had the courage to come back, or even look at himself in the mirror. After Mom was gone, I understood everything. Too late, I ruined everything, Dad." Anna brought him some water, and he thanked her. The three of us sat there, together. Julia sat on my lap. Her brother leaned against the chair. Paul on the porch, head bowed. He talked for hours, told me that after selling his part of the house, his life fell apart. The business went bankrupt, debts, fights with Mike. His marriage almost ended. Deep down, it was the guilt. "I can't sleep, Dad. I feel like Mom's looking at me and asking, 'Where did you lose yourself, boy?'" I listened in silence. Anna held my hand, not to hold me back, but to say, "I'm here, John. Take your time." When Julia asked about me, he made up excuses. "Grandpa doesn't like us anymore." But she never believed it. She was as stubborn as her grandma. I looked at Julia. She looked back at me smiling. It was that little girl who brought her father home. "So, Dad, I just wanted to ask for forgiveness." He stood before me, eyes full of tears. "I know I don't deserve it. I know it's late, but I needed to say it." I stood up too, took a deep breath, and said what I had held back for so long. "Paul, forgiveness doesn't erase what happened, but it keeps the pain from growing. You did wrong. Yes, you hurt me. You took everything from me, but you are still my son." My voice broke. His did too. There, in the middle of the yard, father and son hugged. It wasn't an easy hug. It was tight, painful, but real. After that day, he came back again, without hurry, without promises, just came back. Helped fix the fence, clean the chicken. Co-op, planted with me. Silence still lived between us, but it was a silence of rebuilding, not of hurt. Linda cried when she heard, "Dad, life is beautiful. It takes time, but it shows us who's true." I started to believe that. Paul never spoke about Mike, just said his brother had left for good, moved to another city, doesn't talk to anyone anymore. I hold no grudges, but I don't expect anything either. I learned that some pains aren't worth feeding. Today, the house is full again. The grandkids run around the yard. Anna tends to Mary's plants as if they were her own. Paul comes on Saturdays. And me, I sit on the porch and give thanks, because after everything, I had what many never get, a second chance with a son, a new start with peace. But there was still one last step, a conversation to close this cycle. On a warm morning with no promises, Julia was already in the kitchen with Anna trying to bake a cake like Mary used to. I was on the porch, sharpening an old knife just to pass the time. The mailman stopped by, left a thick envelope, no familiar sender. I opened it slowly. It was an invitation, a gathering of the region's old residents, a tribute to the pioneers who helped build the community. My name was there, Mary's too. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. It wasn't about the event, it was about what it represented. Because after everything being thrown out, losing so much, loneliness, reconciliation, forgiveness here was living proof that I still existed, that my story was still remembered. I showed it to Anna. She smiled. "Are you going to go?" "I think so." "Then I'll go with you." On the day, I put on my best shirt, the one Mary always said made me look sharp. Splashed on some cologne, clean shoes, heart light. The hall was full. People I hadn't seen in decades, some older, some younger. Many had already passed, but many remembered. They came to hug me, shared stories I barely remembered when I loaned out my tractor, helped fill potholes in the road, took a sick kid to the hospital in my pickup, until they called my name. I went up to the little stage, took the microphone in my trembling hands, and said, "I don't know how to give fancy speeches, but I know how to live." My life's been all about hard work, dusty roads, tough days, but also love, fresh brewed coffee, a good woman by my side, children, and thank God, grandchildren. I fell hard. But I got back up. With help, with faith, with patience. And if I'm here today, it's because I learned one thing. It's never too late to start again. The applause started softly, then grew stronger. It wasn't just for me. It was for the weight of everything those words carried. After the event, I went back home with my soul at peace. Sat on the porch, Anna by my side, Julia playing in the yard, and said, "Now, yes, everything's in its place. Not perfect, but in the right place inside me." Today, when I look back, I see, yes, I was betrayed. Yes, I fell, but I didn't stay down. I cried. I found the courage to forgive. I learned to love again, even after everything. And that's why, if you've listened to me this far, I'll tell you, it's never too late to start over. Now tell me, what would you have done in my place?